everybody, and welcome to another episode of Anae's Food Show. I know it's a wonderful show that I have in store for you today, and I hope you've been having fun watching the show as much as I have fun making the show for you. As I've been doing this show over a period of time, you get to know the people that you work with, you become a family. It is very unfortunate that earlier on in this year, we lost one of our family members to a very gruesome accident. She passed on too early in life. Therese was just a sweetheart. She worked behind the scenes to make sure we had everything together, and even at times she would come and help us here on the set and have to run home and help her mom with her soybean business and then come back to us. Therese, we know that wherever you are, God took you away from us too soon. However, we cannot doubt, we cannot question him, but we miss you dearly. We're running a new season and we miss you on the set, and we keep talking about Therese. So Therese, this season, this set of shows that we're putting together is all dedicated to you, and we love you very much. Don't go away. We have a great show in store for you, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Anae's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Welcome back onto the show. Today we're working with two recipes. I have a pork recipe as well as a fresh corn recipe. So we're going to serve our pork with the fresh corn. And the pork is, well, you just follow along and see how we'll do it. So I have here with me a cut of pork which is boneless, even though it was not like a muscle part, it was just like extracted from the bone, but it is boneless. And you know, pork meat is also known as the other white meat, meaning that pork in itself, you would think that it's high in fat. And yes, parts of it are very high in fat. However, when you come to look at the muscle of pork itself, you see this is really red. And meaning that it is lean. It is a lean meat. So therefore, if you're on a diet controlling your weight, the white meat, which is what you want to eat, would be very good for you. So that is what we're working with today, and I'm just starting off here. I think this is a little bit over a kilo worth of meat, and we're just cutting them into strips. And to get the recipe started, we heat up our pan. So I have the pan already, the flame already turned on to heat the pan, and I'm just going to add about 2 tablespoons, about 3, let's say 3 tablespoons of cooking oil onto the pan. Swirl that around and get it very hot, because what I want to do is drop the meat and it's like going to fry a little bit. Then we start adding all the other spices and build it and get our dish going. Ooh, okay. So I believe we have the oil quite hot already. If you can put your hand over the oil and it's comfortable, then your pan is not hot yet. If you put your hand and it's, you know, if you cannot stand the heat, you know that you have a hot pan. And so what we're going to do now is just drop the meat into the oil. It's going to make a big splashing sound, and that's good. So we'll do that to get the meat browned, and then we'll start adding our spices to build up the flavor. Just flip it over. You don't want it to stay too long until the water or the juices start coming out of the meat. So we just want it in that hot oil so that it browns in a flash. Okay, we've got some beautiful browning going on there. So now we're going to start adding our seasoning. I'll start with salt. So I have this is approximately a teaspoon and a half of salt. And I'm going to add some thyme. Thyme is an herb though, but be careful to take out the long particle stems in it. Thyme is it's an herb which is very good with meats. It's a hardy herb, and so it goes very well with pork. So we're just going to sprinkle it about a teaspoon or so, and some black pepper. This is about a teaspoon quantity, or let's just say half a teaspoon here. Now be mindful of the fact that some people prefer white pepper. White pepper also goes with pork. You know, they do have two different flavor profiles though. But if you choose to use white pepper because that is what you have and that's what you're familiar with, it is a welcome addition. Go right ahead and do just that. Then if you notice, I did not chop fresh garlic. I'm just using garlic powder. On the other hand, if you have fresh garlic and you don't have garlic powder, you can also work with fresh garlic. Now, if you're adding fresh garlic, make sure you saute it a little bit before you add the rest. So when your when your pork is brown, you add your garlic and then you can add the rest of it. So now this is about a teaspoonful of garlic powder. And then country spice. No, not country spice. Granite spice. You know the spice that's like a nut shaped like a peanut or granite. That spice, this is the ground version of it. You add just about a half a teaspoon of it into that. And then coriander. I'm not sure how we can easily find it around Bamenda, but I know in Yaoundé and Douala you can find it in some grocery stores. So just ground it up. If you don't have it, it's fine. You can also substitute ane there with coriander if you cannot find it. It just gives a nice fragrance to the dish. So now we toss it. So now we just toss it so that the seasoning coats the meat really well. And also, putting the seasoning now, you get the fact that it sort of toasts a little bit. And it releases the flavor, and it actually goes well to start the seasoning aspect of your dish. So just give a couple of minutes for that to do. And I'll switch to a wooden spoon. And now you've got the meat already cooking. So when you start with the meat first, it starts the cooking process, and we're just adding flavor upon flavor upon flavor. And I'm going to add next a bit of tomato paste. Tomato, however you call it, that paste that is red. Tomato paste. So this is about, I'm just going to do about a half of this. So, you know, we get it a lot in sachets. So it's just about half of a sachet. Or if you don't want to have to keep a half of sachet, you just use it all. Like I'm just doing right now. Just use it all. Let it coat your meat. You know, sometimes tomatoes, especially tomato paste, it helps to carry your flavors better. For instance, you could do this without it. However, the flavors may not come together quite as good. And so tomato paste now would help to carry the flavor over. And before we add another liquid, I'm going to add some honey to this. I'm just going to add about 1 tablespoon of honey to this. It just, you know, gives it a rounded kind of flavor also. Keep in mind, yes, it's honey, but at the end of the day, it's really not going to be like sweets like you expect, like to put honey in tea and you expect it to be very sweet. Because of the combination of all the other flavors, it's going to give it some sort of a rounded taste, but it's not going to be like sweet as sugar sweet. So we've got that nice looking, it's almost like barbecue-ish looking. So we're going to add one more ingredient before we let this simmer, and that is corned beer. I have a glass of corned beer here, but we're going to use just about half a glass of corned beer. Corned beer, sha. If I say corned beer, somebody will say, ah, what is that? Sha. That is what it is. We'll add about half a glass of it. And what that would do is give another dimension. It is corn, and it's going to actually add another level upon this dish. So now we've got all of that in. I'm just going to cover it and let it simmer, and we'll come back and start our next dish. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Okay, our next dish to accompany our pork is a fresh corn fritter. So you've heard of banana fritters, and you know, you have akra, which is almost like bean fritters, but this we're using fresh corn to make a fritter with. So to get this started, we're using fresh, very fresh, soft corn. And to get this started, we have about 8 ears of corn that you take off, you scratch the corn, and then you grind it as though you're going to make cookie corn. But I'm going to caution you that when you're grinding the corn, try as much as possible not to add water to it, because that's a tendency to see it like thick like this, and then you add water to thin it down so you can get a good grind. It is okay. It's not like a totally smooth ground corn. We can chew corn, but it's good to just grind it down to a nice paste. And when you add water to it, it's not going to come together as it's supposed to. So just be very careful of that. Now, to continue, we have about 4 cups of ground corn, which is about 8 or so, 8 to 10, depending on the size of your corn. If it's about this size, it is about 8 ears of corn, just scratched and ground up. So we'll start that by chopping our onions, or you can actually, in the process of grinding the corn, you can just throw in your onions and grind it along with the corn. So we'll do a very fine chopped onion here. 1 full fine chopped onion. And I'm trying to be a very big girl and not cry with this onion juice that's getting into my eye. So there. Finely chopped onions is ready. Okay, I've got our onions chopped. And to that, we're also going to add fresh basil or conmanju, very fresh conmanju. Just about, 10 or so leaves. You roll it into a nice pack, and you just slice it. You're going to slice it really thin. It adds a really good balance with corn. There. Oops. Okay, got that in. Oh, good. The onions are really getting to me a little bit. So now what we do next is we add the rest of our ingredients, which we have 2 eggs. One cup of flour. We've already measured our flour. It's about 1 cup. And 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So there you go, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And 1 teaspoon of salt. And just a little bit chili powder, pepper powder. Now, if you already have like a hot pepper sauce in the house, you don't necessarily have to go out and look for chili powder. You can just use what you have available. It just gives it a nice zip, just gives it an added dimension. So then you just combine all of that. And then you just also drop in about 1/4 cup of water. I'll just go with this here. Just a little bit of water we add to it. And you mix that up. Sort of looking nice already, nice yellow color. So we have this really pretty nice corn, and most often we only have corn as cocky corn, boiled corn, roasted corn, corn chaff. So this is just another aspect of using corn. So we have that all mixed and looking good. So we've already got our oil started, and when we come back, we'll just clean up around here a little bit. When we come back now, we'll fry it and then check on our pork. Stay tuned.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Welcome back. Now we've got our oil already heated up very well. It's almost smoking. And so we're going to go ahead and drop the fritters into the oil. Just spoonfuls, so just about a tablespoonful. You just slide that into the hot oil. There you go. Okay. Trying to avoid the foam coming up from the oil. So I think our pot might have been just a little too small, but just beat it down a little bit. So you just have a nice golden color, nice color. So I've reduced the heat a little bit so that it cooks through when it's seated in there. So when you drop it in, when it's really hot, what happens is that you form an outer shell which holds the corn in, and it just steams it from inside out, and it makes a wonderful, wonderful dish. So I have a lot of space in there. I'm going to drop in a couple more. Okay, that's good. In the meantime, we just sort of check on our pork and see how it's doing. It has simmered down, and you just have a nice sauce. See, that corned beer gives that ability for it to just have a nice sauce that coats the meat very well. And it's almost done. So by the time these corn fritters are ready, the meat will be ready, and we can try it all together. So I'll take off those that I added earlier. There we go. So it's almost like what Americans might call hush puppies, but it's not quite. This is using fresh corn. Doesn't have to be like perfect shape around it. It's just something that is fun to do and to eat. So, okay, don't go very far because we're about to put all of this together. The pork is ready, and the hush puppies, or not hush puppies, the corn fritters are ready. And we'll just invite a couple of guests to come on and try it. and tell us what their experience has been. Don't go far. We'll be right back.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Welcome back to the show. Our fritters are ready, so I'll just scoop those out. And I have two very beautiful ladies on this set, two sisters actually, and they're here to taste this pork dish and corn fritters to tell us what their impression have been on the show and how much they like the food. You're welcome onto the show, and your names are? Anne-Marie
and Consola.
Anne-Marie and Consola. Yeah. You're very welcome. Yeah. You've been following from the back, and what are your impressions of this dish before you taste it?
Voila, just the flavor. First of all, took me from out there, so I'm so anxious what the food is going to be like, how it's going to taste.
Okay.
So I can't wait to taste this food, and I thank you for the opportunity given to me.
You're very much welcome. And how about you, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, I feel same. I'm just anxious to taste it.
Okay. Let's not waste more time. Let's get you tasting. So I have the pork, which you saw how I did it, with very thin slices, and it didn't really take that much time to cook. And with corned beer. What was your most interesting ingredient? Because I think I saw your face from the back. It's just like...
the most was that honey and the corned beer.
Yes.
So surprising.
Well, I think when you taste it now, then we'll know whether it worked or not. Yeah. So go ahead and help yourselves.
Thank you. It's yummy. Really yummy. So delicious.
The way she's eating, I think I can say we did a good job.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's good.
I'm not even pork, but this one
I don't eat pork. But as from today, I think I'll be eating pork.
Excellent, yes. It's a new way of cooking it other than the traditional way of just seasoning it, steaming it and fry. So it just gives you something different. Yeah. So I'm glad you'll be able to try this. And I'm looking forward to you telling me how it went.
Definitely.
Okay.
I like cooking. I must try this.
Excellent. So I think the corn is cool enough now that you can handle and try as well. And let me know what you think of that.
I don't know. Can we use this?
Yes, you can. It's a little bit different way of doing corn.
Say corn.
Corn fritters.
Corn fritters. Wow. It's the first time of tasting this.
Our normal corn.
Yes,
Fresh
just
corn.
fresh corn. Oh. Just normal fresh corn.
I know of cocky corn.
Yeah, so you start preparing.
Corn
Yeah. So we normally have corn chop, cocky corn. What else do we do with corn? We eat it just boiled and fresh like that. So this one is just a different method of doing it. Wow. And just grinding the corn with flour, eggs, a little bit of baking powder so it has some fluffiness to it. And then you just deep fry it.
Nice.
Do you have children?
Yeah,
I do.
I hope they can try this with them too, and I hope they can enjoy it.
I'll try it.
Excellent. And it's something that you can make for their school lunches also. Yes. Yes. Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure having you both on the show. And my sister, and I usually say my sister has the best sister. So I'm sure between the two of you, you're both great. And you can each claim that my sister has the best sister. Yes. Amen. It's been a pleasure having you, and I hope we'll get to visit again. Thank you for being such good sports. Thank you for watching the show today. It's been a pleasure bringing this show to you. I hope you've been able to learn a different way of working with corn as well as pork. So if you have any questions at all concerning these recipes, please feel free to write to us on amundi2009@gmail.com, Anae's Food Show on Facebook, Anae's Food Show on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next show and bon appetit.